Well, hello again, YouTube. It's Petey, and I just wanted to show you quickly. We did a remote the other day, and we had some issues with the nickel metal hydride pack. I've got three of these packs. They're rectangular box, 9 volt, 5400 milliamp hour battery that's manufactured for portable DVD player, I think. Anyway, we ran into this battery at the Goodwill. It was used, and I bought it. It was like $5 or something. It's a great little battery, and so since then I've gotten two more. One I paid $15 for it. Anyway, when we went out, we did sound check, and the new XMG30 sounded phenomenal, and then it just stopped passing audio. I went to look at the battery, and there's a button on these batteries where you press it and these sequence of LEDs will light up. Well, that was dead. It was like the battery had been bypassed or shut down. So I grabbed another battery pack and plugged it in, turned the new XMG30 on, and nothing happened. And then that battery was also shut down. So my wife said, "Oh, well, there's one more," and I was like, "I'm not plugging a third battery into this thing if it's..." So I said, "Give me the multimeter," and she said, "I thought you packed the multimeter." So it was a bad day at the remote, and today I built this. So we're going to go over what that is. This is a black. It's called Vaultz, VAULTZ, and it's got a little lock on it here, and someone broke into the vault because this was all bent up. I had to try to pound it back. Anyway, what we have inside of here is a fuse. There's a 5 amp fuse in here right now. This is a 7809 or similar. It's a voltage regulator. So these are little boards you can get on eBay. They're Chinese voltage boards. You can throw AC at it, you can throw DC at it, it doesn't care. And if you're doing the DC thing, it doesn't care about the polarity on the input. You can flip-flop it and it'll give you the same thing on the output. But the idea behind this is to give me a consistent, steady 9 volt, 500 milliamp output. I believe this board, this is rated at 2 amps, so it's 4 times more powerful than it needs to be to power the MG30. And I did 3 triple sleds. I did 6 total. A triple sled puts out like 12.4 volts. So I doubled up on that to give me twice the capacity. So the way it's wired is there's a connector between these two plates. There's a connector between these two plates, and same over here. So it's like positive, negative goes through to, or positive battery here down to negative, and then it goes through. So the negative connects to a positive, comes up, and here's your negative end of this battery where this positive was. And so this negative goes through to this battery, which is a positive, comes down and terminates at the ground. So you run a master wire in between the two pack grounds, and then an extension off of that master wire. And same thing on our 2 positive outputs. So the positive and the negative of this battery pack is connected. This is like if you have a flashlight and you unscrew it. There's 2 batteries in there, and they butt up against each other at opposite polarities. And the first battery we remove, the positive end of that battery is going to make contact with the negative end of the second battery. And then our device gets its power from the outside. Our ground's down on the bottom, and then our positive lead is up at the top. So if you can picture that, that's basically how this is wired. So the positive the combined positive of both of these packs leaves and goes right to the fuse, comes out of the fuse, goes right to the switch, comes out of the switch and goes right to the voltage regulator, and then our output is here. So the only other thing that I would do, I mean, I usually, when I build this stuff, I always fuse it. I'll put a fuse in, and then I put some extra fuses in a little baggie, and I'll put that with some duct tape. So it's like my projects have duct tape in them, and it, like, I try to not use like electrical tape. To me seems amateurish. It seems like really hackish, you know. But I also know that the stuff that I build, you know, generally I use plumber's flux, and I can tend to go overboard on the soldering, so it's there isn't going to be a cold joint or a wire coming off. You know, it's like, it's really done well. I try to do that. In turn, I try to not use sticky tape and stuff like that, but for the job of holding in a bag of fuses, I haven't found anything better. So the only other thing that I had thought for this, I've got these little readout. It's a little segmented, like 3 numbers, and that'll go from 0 to 24 volts DC. And I thought, boy, it'd be neat to have cut a hole and drill a round hole, significant, like a quarter or a 50-cent piece size hole. And then use some plexiglass or clear plastic and put that inside as a lens to see through, and then you would have a momentary contact switch where you could hit a button and get a look at your voltage, you know, and maybe a switch to toggle it. Do I want to see what this is putting out, or do I want to see what the battery packs are reading, and do that with the toggle? And I was gonna do it, and then I'm building it, and there isn't a real lot of extra room in this thing, you know. There really wasn't enough room. Although I could have been more frugal about where everything was placed and created more space. I did initially start drilling through this press board and using these little nubby, like 3mm screws to fasten these the battery. There's 6 fasteners and 2 for each battery in these sleds, and the screw went right through the you can see here, and that would have been that wouldn't have been fun on your finger. So I had been over to Anchor Rock, is the name of this industrial park, and gotten some scrap wood. So we managed to cut a little panel of scrap wood and applied just Elmer's glue and some C-clamps, and then another little smaller piece of this 3/8 ply or whatever it is, a little chunk of that for our voltage regulator. So I tested this out. When I test something like this, what I'll do is I'll put batteries in one side and turn it on, and then I'll take those batteries out and I'll put them in the other side, and I test the we had 9.14 volts, and then fill the whole thing up with batteries and test it, and it was consistent 9.14 volts all the way through. And then I plugged it into the multi-effect and ran it. So I could expect this to run at a 500 milliamp load. I don't think I'll drain this. in an 8-hour day of making music outdoors. And this is just something like, I have another one of these that you fill up and it's 24 volts times two 24-volt packs. And that would be for powering more of an amplifier or a little PA. We have it's 100 watt for the sub and 50 per channel for the satellites. A little PA that we made with a mono price mixer, a 12 volt DC mixer, and it's got built-in MP3 player for the backing track. So there's a little module that you could bring outdoors and hook your speakers up and have a little rudimentary PA system. So I have built one of these before. This was the first with the voltage regulator. I think it's a neat project, and if you're trying to, or if you need, there is no try, only do. If you need to power a pedal board, you know, this would be a good start. Something like this. You know, and if you know specifically, okay, I've got this effect, and if I power this effect along with this other multi effect, there may be a good chance it will produce a heterodyne oscillation. And that means you need to build it with two of those voltage regulators. If you do that, maybe you won't run into the heterodyne oscillation situation, which is just another fancy word for a high-pitched whine. So yeah, I hope hopefully this was interesting. I order this stuff direct, so I'm dealing with AliExpress from time to time, and I recently noticed this hobby knife, which was not very expensive. It wasn't $1 though, but these are it's an aluminum or pot. It's not plastic. Some of the really cheap hobby knives that I've seen have plastic fastener in there, and that's really dangerous. So yeah, I bought a box of here it is, 100 blades for a couple of bucks, and I got this knife, which I really like the feel of this knife. I have another one. There's a yellow, I don't know where I had a little tote, and it was full of oh look, here's a 3-band DQ. That yellow hobby knife, I remember that was $2.79 for that, and that's a really good hobby knife too. So let me put my 2 cents in on these AliExpress cutters. Here we go. So they sell these. These are individual. I just bought a miniature one that you screw on your keychain, and that had a blade like this, but it had a hole in it to run a set screw through. I don't know where you get those. And I'm not drilling my own, although I probably will end up having to do that. So the typical AliExpress hobby knife is this style here. And they're great. They are great. They are great. If you're a person like me and you're using hobby knives all the time, you can get these scalpels, and they have different blades, different shaped blades. Those are wonderful. They have a different feel to them. If you're doing stuff like home surgery, if you're cutting ingrown toenails and fingernails out, something like this. This is the $2.79 one. This is the one that's been missing, and I'm glad we had this. We'll talk here. So I'll keep that up there for now. I'm going to make a hand. I'll run a wire through here, and then I can just hang this. But as far as these two, this is really big. This is just the size of my hand. Like when I hold it, my fingers go here, and it balances right where it's supposed to be, and it has a good hand feel. Like I really like this one, and this one too. This has, like, this is a little bit like it's got a brass clamper. There's plastic finger hole slots for your fingers that are ribbed for you to grab them really well. But this is a really nice hobby knife. They're $2.79 on AliExpress. You can get these if you're like me and you're a person who uses hobby knives all the time. I use this daily. I'm constantly using, we used to call them X-Acto knives. X-Acto. I'm exactly gonna cut my finger open with this thing because it's way too freaking sharp. The original X-Acto blades, they did hold an edge for a long time, and they have some super titanium ones you can get. They're more expensive. It's a certain type of blade for that. So you guys, thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, please do. This is what I do on here. I talk about stuff that I talk about stuff that I build to solve problems for electronics and making music specifically, and then I'll recommend anything that I think is good or you might enjoy. Like, hey, we're like-minded people. You like Pink Floyd, you like Led Zeppelin, you like good classic rock. That's the stuff that I like too. I don't really get sports or normal entertainment so much, so I'm a little bit of an outcast. This is a bit of a weird channel, but I thank you guys for spending your time here with me, and I will see you guys around soon. Try to stay cool and hug your pets is what I always like to say. In peace.